The dust storms of 7 came every afternoon like clockwork. Hajin pulled her worn scarf over her nose and kept walking between the rows of dead ships. The salvage yard stretched for kilometers in every direction, a graveyard of metal giants that once flew between stars. Now they sat in silence, waiting to be stripped for parts. Hajin was 16 years old, thin and quiet, with sharp eyes that noticed everything. She had lived with her uncle for 3 years now, ever since the pirate raid that killed her parents. She did not talk about that day. She tried not to think about it at all. The frontier colony was not a beautiful place. The moon orbited a massive gas giant that filled half the sky with swirling orange and red. The air was breathable but thin. The people here were rough and kept to themselves. Hajin fit in well enough. Appeared from behind a rusted cargo hauler, wiping grease from his hands. He was a big man with gray in his hair and tired eyes. Before opening the salvage yard, he had worked as a military engineer. He knew ships better than he knew people. "Union transport is coming in an hour," he said. "New batch of fighters scheduled for destruction. Help me clear Bay 7. Hajin nodded and followed him. The Galactic Union sent decommissioned military ships here to be dismantled. It was cheaper than doing it on the core worlds. Paid a small fee, stripped the ships for valuable parts and sold what he could. It was honest work, even if it barely kept them fed. The transport arrived just before sunset. Hajin watched it descend through the orange sky, its cargo bay doors already opening. Inside sat a dozen old fighter craft, all bearing the scars of the war that ended 5 years ago. The war between the Union and the Empire had been brutal, and these ships showed it. Workers guided the fighters down with hover cranes, setting them in rows like sleeping soldiers. Hajin walked among them, making notes on her tablet about their condition. Most were standard models, nothing special. Broken engines, cracked hulls, systems that would never fly again. Then she saw it. The ship sat at the end of the row, half hidden in shadow. It was a Striker-class fighter, model, according to the faded numbers on its side. But something about it felt different. Hajin stopped walking and stared. The X-77 was covered in battle damage. Burn marks crossed its hull like old scars. One wing had been repaired badly, the patches not quite matching the original metal. It looked like it should have been destroyed 100 times over. Yet here it was, somehow still in one piece. Hajin walked closer. Her heart beat faster for no reason she could explain. The dying sunlight caught the ship's surface, and for just a moment she thought she saw symbols beneath the gray paint. Old symbols, strange ones. She reached out and touched the hull. Light pulsed under her palm, faint, blue, gone before she could be sure it was real. Hajin pulled her hand back and looked around. No one else had noticed. The workers were busy with other ships, was talking to the transport captain. She was alone with the X-77 and whatever had just happened. She did not touch the ship again, but she watched it all through dinner, through the evening work, through the quiet hours when the yard lights dimmed and everyone went to bed. At midnight, Hajin slipped out of her small room in the yard's main building. The moons of the gas giant cast pale light across the dead ships. She moved silently between them, her feet knowing the path after 3 years of walking it. They waited for her in the darkness. Hajin stood before it, her breath making small clouds in the cold air. She felt foolish. What was she doing? The ship was just another piece of junk waiting to be cut apart. The light had been her imagination. The strange feeling was nothing. She turned to leave. The cockpit hissed open behind her. Hajin spun around. The glass canopy had risen on its own, revealing the pilot's seat inside. No power had been connected to the ship. The systems should have been completely dead. Yet there it was, open and waiting, as if inviting her inside. She should have run. She should have woken her uncle. Instead, Hajin climbed up the ship's side and lowered herself into the cockpit. The moment she sat down, the canopy closed above her. Screens that should have been dark flickered to life. Holographic displays filled the small space with soft blue light. Symbols appeared in the air around her, flowing and shifting, written in a language she had never seen. Then a voice spoke. It came from everywhere and nowhere, synthetic but somehow warm. "Bloodline confirmed," it said. "Guardian protocol initiated. You are the heir." Hajin's hands gripped the armrests. Her voice came out as a whisper. "What? I do not understand. What is this?" The symbols shifted, and some of them became words she could read. The voice continued, slower now, as if adjusting to her. "This vessel is not what it appears. The human shell hides older technology, technology from before your species reached the stars. You have been chosen because of your blood. You carry the key." "The key to what?" Hajin asked. The screens showed her images, a civilization of beings made of light and crystal, cities that floated among stars, knowledge vast beyond imagining, then darkness, emptiness, silence. "The architects are gone," the voice said. "They saw their end coming and prepared. They seeded their knowledge into living messages. Your ancestors carried one piece. You carry the final key. When your blood fully awakens, you will know everything they wish to preserve." Hajin shook her head. This was impossible. She was nobody, an orphan girl on a dust moon stripping old ships for scrap metal. She was not special. She was not chosen. "There has been a mistake," she said. "There is no mistake. Your mother carried the blood, her mother before her, back through generations to the first seeding. You are the heir, Hajin, and others are searching." "Others?" "Those who would take what the architects left, those who killed to find the bloodline carriers, those who murdered your parents." Hajin went still. Her parents had died in a pirate raid, random violence. Wrong place, wrong time. That was what everyone said. That was what she had believed for 3 years. "They were hunting my mother," she whispered. "Yes, and they will hunt you. The awakening has begun. You have 7 days before the message in your blood becomes complete. Before then, you must decide what to do with the architect's gift." The screens dimmed. The voice faded. Hajin sat alone in the cockpit of an ancient ship wearing a human disguise, her entire understanding of her life crumbling around her. Outside, the dust storms had stopped. The gas giant hung huge and silent in the sky. Somewhere out in the galaxy, hunters were searching for her. And inside her veins, a message from a dead civilization was slowly waking up. Hajin did not sleep that night. She sat in the cockpit until dawn, watching the stars and wondering what she was supposed to do with a secret that was older than humanity itself. 3 days passed, and Hajin told no one. During the daylight hours, she worked in the salvage yard like always. She helped her uncle strip engines from old freighters. She sorted circuits and cables into bins. She ate meals in silence and answered questions with short words. Everything looked normal on the outside. But every night, she returned to the X-77. The ship had taught her how to enter without triggering any alarms. A specific pattern of touches on the hull, a certain way of placing her palm against the hidden sensor. The cockpit would open, and Hajin would slip inside to continue her education. She had given the ship a name. It felt strange to call it just a ship when it spoke to her, when it showed her wonders beyond imagination. On the 3rd night, projected images of the architects into the air around Hajin. They had been beautiful beings, tall and graceful, their bodies made of something between light and crystal. They had existed for millions of years before humanity's ancestors climbed down from trees on a small blue planet. They built wonders across 1,000 galaxies, explained. They understood the fabric of reality itself. Time, space, energy, matter. All of it was theirs to shape. "Then how did they die?" Hajin asked. The images changed. The beautiful cities went dark. The crystal beings stopped moving, their light fading. A shadow passed over everything, not a physical darkness but something worse. something that felt like the end of hope itself. They called it the silence, said. It was not a weapon or a disease. It was despair given form, a psychic plague that spread from mind to mind. It convinced entire civilizations that existence was meaningless, that the only logical choice was to stop. To stop. To end, to surrender, to let go of life. Paused. The architects were too wise, perhaps. They understood too much. When the silence came, they could not find a reason to resist it. Their great intelligence became their weakness. Hajin felt cold despite the warmth of the cockpit. But they left things behind. They left you. They left the message in my blood. Yes, before the end, some of them chose to preserve what they had learned. They searched the young species of the galaxy, looking for those who might resist the silence where they had failed. They found your kind. Humans, why humans? The screens showed Earth as it had been millions of years ago. Primitive humans struggling to survive in a harsh world. They looked weak, small, fragile compared to the architects. Because you hope, said simply. Even when there is no logical reason for it, even when everything says you should give up, your species builds fires in the darkness. You sing songs while the world burns around you. You love each other harder when death is close. The architects had never seen anything like it. Hajin thought about the stories she had heard growing up. Humans who survived impossible situations. Soldiers who fought to the last breath. Parents who died protecting children. Survivors who rebuilt after every disaster. She had always thought those were just stories. Now she wondered if they meant something more. So they chose us to carry their message, she said. Parts of it hidden in the blood of certain families. Your line carries the final piece. When it awakens fully, you will know the location of the sanctuary, the place where the architects stored everything they wished to save. Hajin spent the next hours learning to access the information flowing through her veins. It came in flashes at first, images of star maps, equations that bent her mind, faces of architects who had lived and died before her planet existed. Each vision left her dizzy and gasping. By the time dawn approached, she understood a fraction of what she carried. The sanctuary was real. It contained technology and knowledge beyond anything in the modern galaxy, and the coordinates were slowly forming in her mind like a puzzle putting itself together. She climbed out of just as the sky began to lighten. Her legs were weak. Her head ached. She stumbled between the dead ships, heading for the main building, and her bed was waiting at the door. Her uncle stood with his arms crossed, his face a mixture of worry and anger. Hajin stopped in front of him, too tired to run or make excuses. 3 nights, he said quietly. 3 nights I have watched you sneak out to that ship. I thought maybe you found something valuable to sell, or maybe you just wanted a quiet place to be alone. But tonight I followed you. He stepped closer. The ship lit up, Hajin. It spoke to you. I heard it through the hull. Hajin did not know what to say. The truth was too big, too strange. How could she explain any of it? Come inside, said. His voice was not angry anymore, it was scared. Tell me everything. They sat at the small kitchen table as Hajin told her story. The first touch, the awakening, the architects and the silence, the message in her blood, listened without interrupting, his face growing paler with each revelation. When she finished, he was silent for a long time. Your mother, he finally said. My sister, she had the blood too. Hajin looked up sharply. You knew. Not about aliens or ancient civilizations, but I knew she was different. She could feel things before they happened sometimes. She said she had dreams about a place beyond the stars. Our parents thought she was strange. I thought she was special. He rubbed his face with both hands. I never imagined it was something like this. The pirates who killed her and father, they were not pirates, were they? I do not know, maybe they were. Maybe someone paid them to find your mother, looked at her with pain in his eyes. I took you in because you were my niece, because you had nowhere else to go. I never thought you might have the same gift. It does not feel like a gift, Hajin said. It feels like a target painted on my back. Before could respond, his communication unit beeped. He checked the screen and frowned. A Galactic Union cruiser just entered orbit. They are requesting landing clearance for an inspection. He looked at Hajin. We have not had an inspection in 2 years. Why now? Hajin felt fear curl in her stomach. Had warned her. Others were searching for the bloodline carriers. The hunters who killed her parents were still out there, and now someone had come to this forgotten moon just days after her awakening began. Through the window, she could see the ship descending through the morning sky. On its side, the symbol of the Galactic Union gleamed in the early light. Official, legitimate, but Hajin did not believe in coincidences anymore. Someone knew she was here. Someone was coming for her, and she had only 4 days left before the message in her blood was complete. The ship landed in a cloud of dust, and a figure in a Union uniform stepped out. He was young for an investigator, maybe 30, with a serious face and sharp eyes that swept across the salvage yard like he was searching for something specific. Hajin watched from the window as he approached her uncle. When their eyes met briefly across the distance, she saw recognition flash across his face. He knew, somehow he already knew. The race had begun. The investigator's name was Du. He showed his credentials to with practiced ease, his eyes constantly moving across the salvage yard. Hajin watched from inside the main building, her heart pounding. Routine inspection, Du said, but his voice carried an edge that made the words feel hollow. We have received reports of unlicensed weapons systems in decommissioned vessels. I need to scan all recent arrivals. Kept his face calm. After years of military service and dealing with bureaucrats, he knew how to play this game. Of course, investigator, my niece will prepare the documentation while I show you around. Du glanced toward the building where Hajin stood. Their eyes met through the dusty window. She saw intelligence in his gaze and something else. Urgency. For the next 2 hours, walked the investigator through the yard. Hajin used the time to visit and share what she knew. Du, the ship repeated after she spoke the name. I am scanning Union databases. A pause. He is assigned to a special division. Their official purpose is investigating illegal technology trades, but their real mission is tracking architect artifacts. So he knows about the bloodlines. Yes, he is searching for you specifically. However, his intentions are unclear. My records show that 3 other bloodline carriers have been found dead in the past month. The Union claims they were murdered by unknown parties. Hajin gripped the armrest, 3 others. You are among the last, Hajin. Perhaps the very last with a complete key. This makes you valuable beyond measure, and valuable things attract dangerous attention. Through external sensors, Hajin watched Du and her uncle approach the X-77. The investigator pulled out a scanning device and pointed it at the ship's hull. The device beeped, and Du's expression changed. He had found something. Hajin hurried out of the ship and intercepted them before they reached the X-77. Du turned to her, his scanner still showing readings she could not understand. This vessel, he said carefully, it is not what it appears to be. It is old junk, said quickly, scheduled for dismantling next week. Old yes, junk no. Du lowered his scanner and looked directly at Hajin. I know what you are, I know what you carry, and I know that others are coming for you, others far more dangerous than me. Step between them. You need to explain yourself, investigator. Du pulled up a holographic display from his wrist unit. It showed images of 3 people, different ages, different backgrounds, different planets, all human, all dead. These were bloodline carriers like your niece. They were killed within the last 30 days. The murderers left no traces, no evidence, no witnesses, but we know who is responsible. Who? Hajin asked. The Empire. They have been hunting architect technology for centuries. When they learned about the bloodlines, they began a systematic elimination program. They want the sanctuary's location, and they will kill anyone who stands in their way. Hajin felt the blood drain from her face. They were the most aggressive species in the known galaxy. Reptilian warriors who believed strength was the only law. The war 5 years ago had nearly destroyed the Union before a fragile peace was reached. "Why are you telling us this?" demanded. "What do you want?" "I want to protect her." Du put away his scanner. "The Union can offer safety, a secure facility where they cannot reach her. In exchange, when the message in her blood awakens fully, she shares the location with us." His voice echoed through Hajin's mind, a private communication only she could hear. The Union cannot be trusted with the architect's knowledge. Their politicians would use it for power. Their military would use it for weapons. The sanctuary must remain hidden until the right moment. Hajin made her choice in that instant. She looked at Du and shook her head. "No, I'm not going with you." The investigator's face hardened. "You do not understand the danger." "I understand perfectly. Everyone wants what is inside me. Everyone thinks they know best. But this message was given to my family for a reason. I will not hand it over to anyone until I understand why." Before Du could respond, his communication unit screamed with alerts. He checked it, and his face went pale. "Warship, dropping out of hyperspace now." They all looked up. In the orange sky above 7, a massive vessel appeared as if from nowhere. It was 3 times the size of the Union cruiser, bristling with weapons, painted in the dark colors of the military. A booming voice echoed across all frequencies. "Attention, Galactic Union vessel and surface facilities. This is Commander of the Empire. We claim ancient salvage rights over the architect vessel in your possession. Surrender it immediately, or we will take it by force." Grabbed Hajin's arm. "Run, get to the ship." "I am coming with you," Du said. "No." Hajin pulled free and sprinted toward the X-77. "You brought them here. You led them right to me." She reached Hull and pressed her palm against the hidden sensor. The cockpit opened instantly. Was right behind her, climbing up despite his age and weight. "There is only one seat," he said, squeezing into the small space behind the pilot's chair. "Then hold on." Hajin's hands moved across the controls as if she had done this 1,000 times. The knowledge was flowing through her blood now, faster and clearer. She understood the ship's systems instinctively. She knew what it could really do. Its engines roared to life. Not the weak hum of a standard fighter, but a deep vibration that shook the ground. The old gray hull began to glow with blue light as ancient systems activated. "All weapons locked on target," Commander announced from orbit. "Surrender now." Hajin pushed the throttle forward. The X-77 shot into the sky like a beam of light. The acceleration should have killed them both, but the ship's internal systems protected them. Hajin saw the stars blur around her as moved faster than anything in the modern galaxy. The fired, energy beams streaked past them, missing by kilometers. The warship tried to pursue, but it was like a whale chasing a bullet. Within seconds, 7 was a distant speck behind them. "Entering hyperspace," announced. "Destination, the coordinates forming in your blood." Hajin felt the message awakening further. The final key was almost complete. She saw the location now, a dead star at the edge of known space. A gateway hidden in impossible fire. The architect's last sanctuary waiting for her arrival. Behind them, the ship sent a message to its empire. The chase would not end here. Fleets would mobilize. The entire galaxy would soon be searching for one 16-year-old girl and the ancient secret she carried. But Hajin was not afraid anymore. She was the heir. She was the guardian. And she would find out what the architects had left for humanity, even if the whole universe tried to stop her. The stars stretched into lines of light, as carried them toward destiny. Du stood in the salvage yard, watching the ship vanish into the distance. His superiors would be furious. There would be hunting. Everything had gone wrong. But as he stared at the empty sky, a small smile crossed his face. He had seen the look in Ha-Jin's eyes, the determination, the fire. The architects had chosen well. He decided not to report the ship's true heading. Some secrets, he realized, deserved to stay hidden until the right person was ready to share them. The journey took 3 weeks. Ha-Jin and traveled paths that no modern ship could follow, navigated through collapsed hyperspace tunnels, around gravity wells that would crush normal vessels, past dead zones where the fabric of reality itself was torn. The architects had built these hidden roads millions of years ago, and only their technology could walk them. During the long hours between jumps, Ha-Jin continued to learn. The message in her blood was nearly complete now. She saw entire libraries of architect knowledge. She experienced memories from beings who had lived before her world formed. She understood truths about the universe that no human had ever known. It was overwhelming. Sometimes she woke from the visions crying without knowing why. Sometimes she laughed at beauty she could not describe, watched her with worried eyes, but he said nothing. What could he say? His niece was becoming something new. "Tell me about my mother," Ha-Jin asked him one night as they drifted through empty space. Was quiet for a long moment. "She was the strongest person I ever knew. When our parents died, she held our family together. When times were hard, she found ways to survive. She met your father on a cargo ship. He was a quiet man, kind, the type who listened more than he talked. They loved each other in that simple way that does not need big words." Did she know about the bloodline? "I think so. Not the details, but she knew she was different. She told me once that she felt like she was waiting for something, like her whole life was preparation for a moment that had not come yet." He paused. "I think she was waiting for you." Ha-Jin touched the ship's controls gently. "She died protecting me. The raiders, the killers, they were looking for the bloodline. She must have known they would come eventually. Your mother would have fought 1,000 armies for you. That was who she was." The final jump came on the 21st day. Dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of known territory, where the maps ended and legends began. Before them burned a dying star called the Ember. It was a red giant in its final stages, slowly collapsing under its own weight. Massive solar flares erupted from its surface. Radiation flooded the surrounding space. Nothing living should have been able to approach it. But inside the star's corona, hidden among the flames, something waited. "The gateway," said. "Architect construction. It has survived here for 60 million years, protected by the star's radiation from any who might search for it." Ha-Jin leaned forward in her seat. Through the fire and light, she could see it now. A massive ring, perhaps 100 kilometers across, made of material that seemed to absorb the star's fury rather than burn in it. The ring floated in the corona like a doorway to somewhere else. "How do we reach it?" asked. "That radiation will kill us in seconds." "The ship's shields can handle it," Ha-Jin said. The knowledge flowed through her blood. "Was built for this. This is what it was waiting for all these years." They flew into the fire. The ship's hull glowed white-hot. Alarms screamed, but ancient systems held, protecting them from temperatures that would vaporize any modern vessel. Ha-Jin guided them through the chaos of plasma eruptions and magnetic storms, following a path that existed only in her mind. When they emerged near the gateway, another ship was waiting. It was elegant, silver, designed for diplomacy rather than war. Markings covered its hull. They were an old species, almost as old as the stars themselves. Tall beings with silver skin who valued logic and patience above all else. A holographic figure appeared in its cockpit. A diplomat, wearing robes of office, regarding Ha-Jin with eyes that had seen centuries pass. "I am Vel," the figure said. "We have been monitoring human bloodlines waiting for this moment. I come to offer alliance." Ha-Jin's eyes narrowed. You knew about the architects, about the message. We were allies of the architects in the time before the silence. When they fell, we tried to help preserve what they left behind. We have watched your species grow, waiting for the heir to appear. Vel inclined his head. You have done well to come this far, but they are coming. A whole fleet. You cannot face them alone. What do you want in exchange for your help? Access. When the sanctuary opens, we wish to share in its knowledge. The architects left wisdom there that belongs to all of us. Gripped Hajin's shoulder. We could use allies, they are honorable, they do not break their word. Before Hajin could respond, space tore open behind them. Warships emerged from hyperspace, one after another, until a dozen vessels surrounded the gateway. At their head was the massive flagship of Commander. His image appeared beside Vel's hologram, a reptilian face twisted with cruel satisfaction. You led us right to it, little human. I should thank you. My empire has searched for this gateway for 500 years. He bared his teeth in what might have been a smile. Now, open the door. No, Hajin said. You do not understand your position. Gestured, and one of his ships moved closer too. I have your vessel targeted. Open the gateway or I destroy you and find another bloodline carrier. There are no others left, you killed them all. Laughed, then your blood will have to do. Dead or alive we can extract what we need, but alive is easier, choose. Vel spoke urgently. Young one, activate the gateway. Once inside, he cannot follow without your permission. The sanctuary's defenses will protect you. Hajin looked at her uncle. His face was calm, resigned. He had been a soldier once. He knew what came next. Do it, he said quietly. Whatever happens, do not let them win. Hajin reached out with her mind. The message in her blood was complete now, every piece in place. She understood the gateway, understood what it guarded, understood the choice that waited on the other side. The ring began to glow. Ancient energy surged through the structure, power that had slept for 60 million years waking at her call. The center of the ring rippled like water, then cleared to show something impossible. A world, green and blue, orbiting no star, existing in a pocket of reality outside normal space. The architect's final refuge, the sanctuary. And standing on its surface, visible through the gateway, were beings of light. They were waiting. As the gateway opened fully, began broadcasting a signal. It pulsed out across the galaxy on frequencies that every species could receive, but only humans truly understood it. The signal carried a single message in the architect's language, translated instinctively by every human mind that heard it. Come home. Across 1,000 worlds, humans stopped what they were doing. They looked up at the sky. They felt something ancient stir in their blood. They did not understand it. They could not explain it. But they heard. And somewhere, somehow, they knew. Everything was about to change. Hajin stepped through the gateway alone. She left a board with orders to hold position no matter what happened. They had their weapons charged. They waited nervously, but Commander hesitated to fire. He needed what was inside her mind, and he could not risk destroying it while she crossed between worlds. The transition felt like falling through warm water. One moment she was in the burning corona of a dying star. The next she stood on green grass under a sky of impossible colors. The sanctuary stretched before her, a world preserved in perfect stillness for 60 million years. And the beings of light approached. There were 12 of them walking across the grass like living flames. They were not truly alive, Hajin understood. They were echoes, recorded consciousnesses, the last whispers of architects who had chosen to remain and guide whoever found this place. One stepped forward. It spoke directly into her mind, its voice warm and ancient. I was among those who created the living message. I have waited long for this meeting, Hajin. Hajin's voice felt small in this vast place. I came like you wanted, I carry the key. Now tell me the truth. Why was my family chosen? Why was humanity chosen? What is all this for? Slight pulse gently, let me show you. Images flooded Hajin's mind. She saw the architects in their final days. She saw the silence spreading across their civilization like a slow poison. World after world went dark as beings who had lived for millions of years simply stopped. The architects were too wise. They understood the universe too completely. When the silence came, it showed them the mathematics of entropy, the certainty of eventual heat death, the meaninglessness of existence against infinite time. And they could not argue. They could not find a flaw in the logic. So they surrendered. But a few refused. Those few searched the galaxy for species who might resist where they had failed. They studied thousands of young civilizations. Most were rejected, too logical, too calm, too accepting. Then they found humanity. We did not seed your species, explained. You evolved naturally. That is what made you special. You grew in hardship. You survived ice ages and famines and wars. Every generation faced extinction, and every generation refused to accept it. Hajin saw humans through architect eyes, strange creatures who danced at funerals, who sang while their cities burned, who held hands as ships went down and whispered words of love instead of surrender. We could not understand it at first, continued. Hope without logic, defiance without reason. You feel joy in the face of certain death. You choose meaning when the universe offers none. The silence showed you the same truths that destroyed us, and you laughed at them. We are stubborn, Hajin said quietly. It is not always a good thing. It is everything. It is why you are here. Led her to the center of the sanctuary. There stood a great structure of crystal and light, pulsing with contained energy. Hajin could feel the power radiating from it, technology that could reshape reality, knowledge that could advance humanity by millions of years. And next to it a smaller structure, dark, silent, waiting. The silence is not gone, said. It sleeps. One day it will wake again and spread across new civilizations. The weapon we built to fight it rests here. It was never used. We could not use it. Why not? Because using it requires something we did not have. Hope. Genuine, irrational, burning hope. The weapon draws power from the user's will to survive. We had accepted our end. We could not fuel it. Turned to face Hajin fully. You can. Hajin understood now. The inheritance was not just knowledge and technology. It was responsibility. It was a choice that would shape the galaxy for eons to come. If I release all of this, she said slowly, wars will start, species will fight over the scraps. The Union, even they will tear each other apart. Perhaps they will learn, perhaps humanity will teach them what you taught us. Light dimmed slightly. The choice is yours. You can seal the sanctuary forever. The knowledge dies with you. The galaxy remains as it is, safe, stagnant, waiting for the silence to return. Lord. Or you release everything. Trust that your species' stubborn hope will spread. Trust that the galaxy can grow wise enough to use what we left behind. Trust that when the silence comes again, someone will stand against it. Outside the sanctuary, the battle had begun. Hajin could feel it through her connection to the gateway. Commander had lost patience. His ships were firing on Envel's vessel. But other ships were arriving too. Small vessels, human vessels, civilian transports and ancient freighters and tiny personal craft. They came from everywhere, answering the call that it sent. Humans who had heard the signal and flown toward it without knowing why. Among them was a Union ship moving against orders, Deuce ship. They found themselves surrounded, not by a military fleet but by ordinary humans. Scientists and farmers and traders who had heard come home and could not ignore it. Your species responds when called, observed. Even now, not understanding, they come, they stand together. Hajin made her choice. She placed her hands on the great crystal structure. Energy surged through her, vast and ancient and beautiful. She felt the architect's hope mixing with her own. She felt 60 million years of waiting come to an end. I release the inheritance, she said, but I bind it to guardianship, not to bloodlines, not to governments, to anyone who carries hope, anyone who refuses the silence, anyone who chooses to stand when the universe says fall. The sanctuary responded. Light exploded outward, passing through the gateway, washing over every ship in the region. Those touched by it felt something change in their minds, a door opening, knowledge waiting to be accessed by those ready to receive it. Commander screamed as the light touched him. He saw the silence as the architects had seen it. He felt the despair that had ended a million-year civilization. His scales went pale, his eyes wide with terror. "No," he whispered, "no, it cannot be." His ship turned and fled. The other followed. They had wanted the architect's power, but they had not understood its cost. Now they understood, and they wanted no part of it. Vel's vessel drifted closer too. The diplomat appeared as a hologram once more, his silver face showing an emotion Hajin had never seen there before. "Wonder. You have done it," he breathed. "You have given the galaxy a chance." His voice came through the communication system, thick with relief. "Hajin, are you all right?" She stepped back through the gateway and into his cockpit. The sanctuary would remain, accessible to those who proved worthy. The weapon against the silence would wait until needed. The architect's knowledge would spread slowly, guided by guardians she would choose. Hajin looked out at the gathering fleet of human ships. Deuce's vessel moved among them, helping coordinate the chaos of volunteers who had answered an ancient call. "What now?" asked. "Now we teach," Hajin said. "We find others like me, not just bloodline carriers, but anyone who refuses to give up. We build something new." His voice echoed one final time in her mind. The architects chose well. Hajin smiled. She was 16 years old, tired and overwhelmed, holding secrets older than her species in her blood. But she was not afraid. "No," she said quietly, "we chose ourselves." The fleet began to move. Human ships of every size and shape, flying together toward something none of them fully understood. But they were flying. They were hopping. They were refusing to surrender. Somewhere in the distance, the silence waited. One day it would wake. One day it would spread across the stars and whisper that existence was meaningless. And humanity would laugh at it. Because that was what humans did. They stood in the darkness and sang. They faced the end and loved harder. They heard the universe say give up and answered with stubborn, beautiful, irrational hope. The architects had known it, they had watched it, they had feared it. And now the galaxy would learn what it meant when humanity chose to rise. Hajin looked at her uncle, at the stars, at the impossible future waiting to be built. She was ready.